I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams.
What is the path to awakening supposed to look like? To feel like? How do you know if you are on it? We ask these very sacred and sometimes vulnerable questions to many different women from all walks of life. A conversation that needs to be shared and heard. I'm Jo Hendy.
I'm Amanda Parker.
And welcome to the Girl Awakening podcast. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning.
Feels like a while.
Well, I guess because there's so much been happening, really. Like
It's an
every day at the
understatement.
moment is like a week, a month in
Yeah.
some cases. And
Well, this
Yes.
podcast will go out in about 4 weeks. So for the listeners, it's the day after the eclipse, basically. Day and a
Yeah.
half after the eclipse.
yeah,
A lot of really intense energies around, as we all know. That will be listening to this, you would have been feeling it anyway.
sure. And navigating your way through.
Yeah.
Hopefully listening to Girl Awakening to help you do that. Or
Absolutely.
some of our guests who've been on before
Yeah.
who've got some really awesome stuff they're sharing too, which is far
Powerful.
out. Just incredible.
Alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the tools that are there for these times. And,
Yeah.
you know, like the lady that's with us today is an example of that for sure.
Absolutely. So let's welcome her. O Kendall is a woman's empowerment coach and 4D bridge light worker. I can't wait to hear what that's about. Guiding women who deeply desire magnificent life changes to choose themselves. Yay. By coming back through the body and deeply feeling love again in their hearts. Melissa describes herself as a heARTist, which you would have seen you will see in some of the pictures.
Yes.
Her essence is that of whimsy, love, and activating energy. Melissa teaches all of her work based entirely off lived experience. What better way to do that?
Authenticity.
Yeah.
You've said that a few times already this morning.
Yeah, we have. She guides women to let go of their past trauma, conditioning, and generational patterns, allowing them to be seen, heard, and loved again, creating and living the love story they have always dreamed of with themselves.
Oh,
So beautiful. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.
thank you for coming in today. Yeah.
It's been a 12-month dream in creation.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a story in itself, which we might start with because it's already had me in tears and we haven't even
Yeah.
really got into it yet. But which you'll see will pop up on Instagram. But Melissa actually did almost like
So a piece of art.
a
Vision
piece of
board.
art that had some aspirations on it,
Yeah,
inspiration on it.
I did a course last year called the Keepers of the Blue Flame,
Oh.
and we were encouraged as light workers to step into our power
Yeah.
with this new rising. And I learned to paint again
Oh,
from my childhood.
wow.
That makes so much sense.
And so I started painting in my dreams.
Oh,
And one of them, after listening to your podcast for 12 months probably,
yeah.
was to be on your podcast. And so I painted it. And I didn't know at the time, but I was channeling the light codes of Sophia.
Oh.
And that they're also on the piece of art as well. So, and it did take me, I was just telling the
Yes.
girls that I have 3 drafted emails before I actually just decided to send a message through Instagram
Yeah.
to say, this is me. I understand that this is what you're about and I'd love to share my story.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Can I be on your podcast?
Yeah.
And you said yes.
Oh, yes. It was,
You
a, big,
said
it was
yes.
a big yes because we could feel you
Oh,
so
thank
much.
you.
It was really,
Yeah.
your energy just came
Absolutely.
through.
And that's what the podcast is about. So any listeners out there that actually have the calling, like Melissa did, please, reach out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here. I've got all the butterflies because
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
only spoken on one podcast before.
Yeah.
And the authenticity of showing up today, like being all of me, because I've
Yeah.
actually hidden all of who I was for a very long time. So I'm really excited to share and be seen.
Oh, we're excited
we're so
to
honoured
share
to
you.
be able to hold the space for you to be able to do that too. Oh my God, I feel so honoured. I can't wait. Let's literally just jump straight in. Do you want to ask a question?
Oh, yes. I'm a bit excited to ask you, Melissa, how did your awakening begin?
As your other guests explain, there's quite a few times that the awakening began, and I have stayed awake quite a few nights over the last 3 weeks, knowing that you're going to ask me this question. And I really feel that, to preface that, I was born to an incredibly galactic mother
Oh.
who didn't know
Okay. Yeah.
that she was galactic. So she grew these amazing flower gardens. She always had flower beds at our houses. And I can remember as a little girl wandering around, always picking these flowers and putting them into buckets and making perfume, like you do.
God, how beautiful.
Yeah, so I feel like that was the essence, because it comes through every 3 or 4 days, this remembering of these flowers. And then to know that I went through that course and then started painting flowers. And yeah, so the next part would probably be the birth of my now son that is 16, nearly 16. And just knowing that I was going to be a mother and something had to be different. But there was lots of other different pieces along the way, because I was with 2 other young women. I think we were 7. We got initiated into Cub Scouts.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
So there was myself, Rachel and Amy, and we were the first 3 girl Cub Scouts. Yes.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And so then we did Cubs together, and then we went through to Scouts. And as part of, I'm sure the people that know from Scouting, there's a special part of the journey called the Green Cord.
Okay.
So that you have to travel through. And to get your green cord, you have to do a certain amount of badges and a certain amount of initiations. So anyone born in the 80s will know that this is what happened before phones.
Yes. Wow.
We had to plan a trip with our tribe, I suppose you'd say. And there was a patrol leader, which was me, and a second in charge, which was the assistant patrol leader. And then there was 4 other people in your team. So I'm 12, and my assistant patrol leader's name was Sean.
Yeah.
And then we had the 4 other kids. So they were we were all under 12, but between 10 and 12. And we had to hike from the top of Condalilla Falls, which is at the back of Montville,
Right.
down to the bottom, which met at Obi Creek.
Wow.
So I'm full of goosebumps. So we go
Yeah.
into the swimming hole, down over the rocks. We're fully packed up because we're doing an overnight. Everything's like... So I've got a compass, like a literal compass.
Yes.
There is no phone.
So epic.
These 5 parents have...
Given
You didn't even sign paperwork then. You just went. And we're down in this literally middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
With there wouldn't even be phone reception
No
now.
GPS,
No
nothing.
GPS, nothing. These 6 kids, literally, we're all under 12, packed like backpacks. We had to be weighted. We had to have a certain amount of food. Like, we were all encouraged to do this thing. This is for me to get this cord.
Yeah.
So then I could be initiated and go off to this particular camp we were going to in Western Australia. And so we actually waded through water, got to this part of the Obi Creek that divided into 2, and I can still feel my heart racing.
I can
Like,
feel my heart racing.
how am I
It's
going to
like an
choose
adventure
which
book.
way goes which? And thank goodness Sean was there, and I put my hand on my heart. His name was Sean Pringle, and he was just the most divine masculine. He was just this. His parents brought him from the land.
Yeah.
Like, he was a soul guided with me, and he was able to read the map, because little did I know that I'm actually ADHD and dyslexic.
Yeah.
So back
Everything's
then,
jumping out of
everything's like, what am I going to do? Go upside down.
It would have
Yeah.
been interesting.
And so he chose the right path for us to go on, which was beautiful. But we then got to this section that the map said wouldn't be full of water, and it was. So we had to make a raft.
Oh,
So we
wow.
literally had to use all of our skills from scouting
Yeah.
and tie the knots, find the wood, cut the wood, make this raft that we
Wow.
all got on, and then paddled ourselves up the Obi Creek until we got to this particular destination. So that was
Amazing.
9 hours that we went
Wow.
from hiking down to the top, got into the water, and then got ourselves
How-
hiked
That's
and
actually
trekked.
pretty
Yeah.
good timing, really,
Yeah.
when you can think about what you do.
Yeah, it was
a
just like
mountainside.
unbelievable.
Wow.
Like, I just cannot believe that, these days you'd have
Yeah.
40,000 pieces of paperwork, there'd be phones, there'd probably be a drone.
No,
there'd be-
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
and then-
just listening to you, thinking how wonderful that would be for all kids to be able to experience
Oh,
that. And would
yeah.
they be able to?
Yeah. So I think that would be the knowing, the deep knowing, after all the unconsciousness that followed after that for 20 years,
Yeah.
that I'm a born leader.
Yeah.
And that I need to step into my
Yeah.
own personal power, which
Yeah.
has been a journey.
And I get just like being able to walk off the beaten path as well.
Yeah, I'm absolutely an off the beaten path. So we had your beautiful guest, Kirsten Morrison,
Yes.
last year, and she inspired me to get my human design done, because I was really seeking someone, and
Yeah.
she spoke to me
Yeah.
from your podcast, and I had my blueprint done with her.
Wonderful.
And so I found out I was a 6'3" profile, which is basically 2.3% of the world They're a 6-3, and I'm a generator. So absolutely have to teach from my lived experience.
Yeah.
Which is what I was explaining to my friends and family recently, because they're all saying, but don't you need a certificate, and shouldn't you have this, and won't you get more clients? And
You
I'm
do
like,
have a certificate.
I do. It's called Life's University.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm such a absolute stickler for not the rules.
Yeah.
So
Yay.
I won't be getting any of those.
Yes.
And I know now from my own personal experiences that your magnetism draws your people, and you don't need all of those things. And especially not going forward into the next 10 years of what we're about to unfold.
Absolutely. Oh my
So
God.
it's just,
You've
it
said
gives
so
me
beautifully.
goosebumps saying that too, because there's so much potential, and when you hear about the sharing space with you now, and the willingness that you have, and the excitement you have to step in that space and accept responsibility to be a part of that leadership, conscious leadership, and sovereign leadership, it just all becomes so possible, doesn't it?
It does,
see
And I'm a massive believer of infinite potential.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another part of the awakening, which was my magical thinking.
Oh.
So I'm a double Gemini.
Yeah.
And so rising
There's
in
4
sun.
of you.
Yeah, there's definitely 4 of us. And if you speak to my partner, there's 5. And I'll definitely ghost you. That is what I also found out when I had my human design done, was that this chameleon energy, which is part of the Gemini, which is also one of the open, because I've got 5 open centers as well, and 2 are completely undefined, the base and the crown. And so it was just absolutely fascinating to find out that that particular chameleon energy is actually a gift, because it makes people feel comfortable, it makes them feel at ease, it enables them to just choose themselves, which is what I work with, is really empowering women to choose themselves in whichever way that feels, which is my superpower, because I can basically just become you to help you see, feel and activate whatever needs to come through in your purpose.
That's so beautiful. I just want to jump back a couple of steps back to that part where you want to bring through your own uniqueness kind of thing, because I feel like that's a really powerful realization for a lot of different women, because we're stuck in this world of comparison and this world of not good enough, and comparing ourselves to other women or other people that may look like they're killing it, and they probably are fantastic in their own way, but doesn't mean that we have to be doing the same thing. And this thing you're talking about, finding your own authenticity and your uniqueness and sharing that with the world, is what we all need to sit in and be okay with. And it doesn't have to be something massive. It can be something really small.
Yeah, and that was the bravery that I had to cultivate inside to ask you to be on your podcast.
Yeah.
Was because I was like, well, I only have 200 Instagram followers. And like, who am I? Like, who am I? Like, who am I? So I just went about sitting with that to cultivate that beautiful space inside me that, I don't have to be all of those things. I don't have to be anything other than me.
Yeah.
So that, what you were saying too, Jo, about the enoughness. So I'm basically from 5 lines back on my mother's side of complete not enoughness.
Yeah.
So another part of my awakening was when my grandmother died, my mother's mum. So she was, you could have called her a heARTist too. She had this beautiful big heart, and she passed away because basically her heart gave way.
Yeah. Wow.
But I got to be with her when she died. So we were at the hospital in the C word section of life, and it happened to be that 3 weeks between the borders opening and you not having to do the tests and the masks. And I got to go into the hospital because being me, there was no way I was ever going to put one of those on and advocate for all of the things. And so I got to go into the hospital. And so this particular night, my sister's there, who's 5 years younger than me, and my mum, and because sadly of the border closures, my aunt couldn't get there, which is my nana's other. So Nan's got 2 daughters. And
such tough times.
Yeah, my sister had a wedding to go to, and no one thought Nan was going to die.
Yeah.
Like, we thought, she's done this 9 times now. This is the 9th time that she's like gone to hospital, told her she's not good, blah, blah, blah. So she's 3 days off her 89th birthday.
Wow.
And my mum was this believer that mum had said to her for a long time, you can't leave me till you're 90. And so we feel like she was trying to hang on till she was 90.
Yeah, wow.
So my sister says, well, I've got to go to this wedding. Like, I'll come back in the morning. So off she goes. And then my mum is like, well, what do you need, mum? To my nan, what do you need? Do you need to be comfortable? Blah, blah, blah. Rings my auntie Hazel and says, should we keep her alive? Blah, blah, blah. And so they go out on the phone. Mum goes out of the room. And I say to nan, do you want to stay alive?
Oh,
She goes,
yes.
not really.
Yeah.
She goes, I'm pretty done.
Yeah.
In a nana way.
Yeah.
And I said, all right. So mum comes back in and I say, mum, please ring my auntie Hazel back and just say that nan is happy to go now. And so mum bursts into tears, as she would. And mum is a deeply emotional soul. And so she's like, well, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't stay with mum. I'm like, well, I'm the only one here.
Yeah.
So it's me.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like this particular experience, because of my beautiful inner strength and determination, and because my mum taught me basically from the moment I can remember that we are here in an incarnation, and when we cross over, sometimes it's actually easier to connect with the people because we're not in a body. And so I just was like, well, it's not like I'm going to miss her. Like, I'm not going to be able to touch her, but I'm still going to be with her, and I could probably be with her more because she lives 3 hours away from us. So she basically, we got her the comfort pack and she started to pass away, and all the things, the love and the divinity. And I had this beautiful cashmere jumper and put it on her, and she goes, oh, that's just so beautiful, and she's soft. And then I go out of the room and I come back and I can hear her yelling, and she stripped all her clothes off. Yeah. And she goes, I'm just so hot. Nobody's taking care of me. And I saw her naked for the first time. Yeah, like I'd never seen my grandmother naked. Yeah, and that was the full permission to where I got my body. Yeah. Yes. Of my actual body shape, how my hair grew on my body. Yeah. Like all the things. Yeah. And so it was like this beautiful forgiveness of all the punishment that I'd given myself in this not knowing. Wow. And how beautiful she was. Yeah. And her skin and the way she'd like sagged or wrinkled or become, it was just so beautiful.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It was so beautiful. So then we got her dressed again and cuddled up to her, and I just lay next to her in the cot, and I can't describe the feelings because it was just so such a gift, and I could be so present with her. And I think that was the biggest part of my presence awakening, was the presence that she gave me by offering me that gift to be with her. Yeah. And then me never, like I'd never been with anybody that died. I'd really not ever heard any stories. I'd only really known her husband, my grandfather, who'd passed away. I hadn't really been to any other funerals, so I'd not really known about this last breath thing. Yeah. And she did take that huge, big last breath, and then a little tiny one after that, and then I just lay with her, and it was just, I laid there for quite a while before I rang my mum, so I could be with her, and then everyone came up to the hospital and all the things happened. But it was just
so beautiful.
The beautiful gift, and the cashmere wrap that I had on the day, I didn't wash that for nearly a year. Yeah. Because I just still had her smell in it, pieces of her hair and all the things. So that must be 4 years ago.
Yeah. So sacred, isn't it?
That is sacred, So after that, my mum booked a place in Noosa for us all to stay. And my family don't get together particularly that often, especially with my brother, because he works way out in the west, the mines. And he was there, and my sister, and we were all there, and I was really sick. I was like, why am I so sick? Grief must be really awful. Like, no wonder people don't like this. I'm like, this is awful. Yeah. So I'm like, Nan left us some money, so I went and bought a beautiful dress, and I'd been taking myself out to dinners, and my partner wasn't there, so I was just choosing this beautiful space to be by myself, and taking myself to 5-star restaurants and having a few cocktails, and I'm thinking, man, I'm sick. This can't be right. Like, what is wrong? Anyway, I get back to work the following week, and my colleague at work says, you sure you're not pregnant? And I'm like, I'm 41. Like, no. And my partner at the time was 60. So I'm like, no.
It's not happening.
It is not happening. We're not, no. Anyway, I thought, right, well, I'll just call into this chemist and get a pregnancy test. And yep, I got back to my other girlfriend's house who wasn't home, did the test and went back into the bathroom, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
No way.
So I tell the story to my now nearly 3-year-old son,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how
Ari,
gorgeous.
that he has met his nana because he was there
Yeah.
with me and her as she passed over.
Oh,
So
that's incredible.
yeah, so if you're ever sick after grief, it's not always grief. You're actually pregnant.
Note to self.
Yeah.
That's wild that he came in and he chose that time too. Like,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. So we call him, a COVID accident
Yeah.
because he was in that space.
I think the world population actually went up as much as it was going down
Yes.
during COVID
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
the time that people were sharing together and,
yeah.
you know. So did you say before that you are the mother of a son
Who's 16?
Yeah.
16 and
And
now you have
3.
Ari who's 3. So
Three.
you have 2
I
beautiful
have
boys.
2 beautiful boys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And that was another preface of coming on the podcast too, was to really get women to hear the fact that your children are your deepest mirror, your deepest soul lesson. And I've heard Joe talk about this a lot of times in the snippets of your podcast, and I just love that. You know,
Yeah.
I just love that. And for me to do the inner work
Yeah.
for them,
Yeah.
so that they don't have to carry all this stuff,
Yeah.
is my mission.
It's very powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's hard to accept because the heart thread is so thick,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, how do you can't cut that one. It's
Well, it's the umbilical
It's the
cord.
umbilical,
It's,
isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just,
with all
it's
that.
just
Yeah.
it's still pumping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got its own memory and
Yes.
its own nerves and all the things that connect you to them.
yeah.
Yeah, so the other huge polarity of my life, which is part of the 6-3's journey
Yeah.
in human design, is the lived experience. So all the things that happen to you under 30 are usually quite drastic. So
Okay.
lots of trauma.
Yeah.
To give you these experiences to then master between 30 and 50, which is called the 3 part, which is when you go up on the roof
Yeah.
and look down at what's happening.
Oh,
But
wow.
the 3 has this gift where we can get on the ladder and go back down and experience more and come back up.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
because
we
you want
want
to.
to.
You
want
Yeah.
Yeah,
Snakes
it's
and
also
ladders is
fun
like
stuff.
next level.
it's also fun stuff. as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
So he was the gift of, I was so asleep then.
Ari
you
or
know.
your
Josh.
Josh,
Josh
yeah,
is my
yeah.
son. So I was just, the working mum. I'd had this beautiful career. I was gifted the opportunity to have him, but I didn't know what to do. I was only 28, and he was just, put into daycare at 4 months old.
Yeah.
He had the full abandonment trauma, and then he got shipped around because I was so unsettled in not being in my own power. I didn't know who I was. I got postnatal depression really bad because I didn't know how to be a mother.
And separation, we don't realise how much the separation affects us as well.
Yep,
isn't it?
exactly,
Like
and I
it's
never
big.
honoured that.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, my first husband was just the most beautiful provider. He was able to really provide for us, but I now look back and think, oh my God, he must have felt insane being married to me. 4 people who hadn't actually done their work yet. It's like, that'll be fun. So, my heart goes out to him for doing what he did for me and for Josh.
What a
So,
beautiful reflection.
yeah, it
you
was.
just even see that.
I was
really
angry at the
powerful.
time when
Yeah.
we separated, but the work I've done after is another
Yeah.
beautiful reason that I want to help people not say ex-husband. I want to help them say first husband.
Yeah.
And you and Trevor
Yeah.
inspired me with that. When Trev came on and did his
Yeah.
podcast, I went back and did the work over that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, amazing.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
self-responsibility part too that's so powerful that I think people forget. And it's
Yeah.
that whole forgiveness thing. We think that forgiving somebody is handing our power over, or it's actually just taking it back. And it's,
Yeah.
it's such a powerful thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a really fully owning your power,
Yeah.
isn't it? To forgive,
Yeah.
because you're freeing yourself out in ways that you can't believe are possible.
No.
If you're hanging on to the pain and the grief and not forgiving.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what came through when I did this Keepers of the Blue Flame work last year was the preface of this particular coach. Her name's Debbie Lim. She's from New Zealand.
Yeah.
she got the full download of helping women rise who would just have this deep inability to be seen, and that was me. So all this power and all this ability and all this knowing, and I've transformed all these shadow parts into their beautiful light parts, accepting all the parts of me home. And that's when the painting came in. So I was learning these forgiveness processes through the painting, but I'm still not feeling like I've forgiven my mum or my dad or my partner or whatever I'm trying to forgive. And I'm like, there's something missing. And I ended up getting a little borderline postnatal depression again with my second son. And I sought different help because I'm a different person. So I ended up finding a psychologist who has worked with he was a Buddhist monk for a long time when he was a young man, and then he decided that he could help people further in a different way. So he teaches the principles of Buddhism through his psychology. And so he helped me understand that you need to have understanding or inner standing and then compassion before you can forgive. So I had done thousands of hours of painting and letters and putting things in the ocean and throwing in the pebbles and finding the feathers. And I'm like, this is not working. Like, what is going on? And then I found those two pieces. So it was actually very easy. It was almost like, because I had done all of that over this 12 months, when I found out these pieces to be able to understand, offer more compassion, it all fell away very quickly. Yeah, all this forgiveness work. And so then I just had to then learn to receive the freedom, because that was just so scary for me, because I was the full archetype of alpha female, hyper responsible, parentified, totally in control. If I even up until last year, if I wasn't in control, I was just in fear. And
I know that one.
So all of those pieces of forgiveness, especially for my mum, because I just had such a deep mother wound because she did. Especially in the space of the sisterhood space, which I did post about yesterday and a couple of days before on my feed, about the fact that if you don't heal that, there really isn't any safety from within, because if we can't rise together and shine together, what are we here for? So that's basically what I've discovered in this forgiveness.
That's so beautiful. There's a great Einstein quote which I think resembles what you've just been talking about, which is and I apologise, Einstein, for probably stuffing up your phrase. You can't change a situation on the same level of consciousness it was created, which is very powerful. So it's like, I think that's exactly what you were just sharing with us, is that you were doing all these things but nothing was shifting. It's like you had to go somewhere else to be able to view it from a different aspect to then be able to change it. And
when we worked through so this particular coach, I've had 5 over my awakening, all incredible women, all basically activated me, because I was obviously attracting the same mirror in incredible ways. So it was 2 days before we were to finish our course at the end of last year, and two of my previous coaches had not been able to hold me through this sisterhood wound, because obviously they were still learning theirs, which I so discovered after. And Debbie was able to call me forward in an activating but safe space, not abandon me, because that was my deepest trauma, is abandonment, and help me take full responsibility of my life. And because I had done that 5 years of work before, it was another one of those missing pieces, when we're searching for this puzzle, this 1,000-piece puzzle, in coming back together. And so I took full responsibility for my life, and then my partner and I were having some stumbling blocks, as you do, and he's now had to take full responsibility for his life, because he can't show up in that same aspect that you were saying about Einstein, because you can't move forward with the same person that we were before. So it's just this sisterhood space is just so powerful.
It is,
and it's just exponentially growing and rising, and visible, which is so exciting and it's so nourishing.
It is. Yeah, my heart is just like literally, because I've been gifted from the universe like 5 different superpowers in the last year. With Ari, when I was pregnant with him, I basically knew that it was telepathy was one of them that was coming in. So I can speak to him.
Yes.
I can sometimes speak to Josh, but Josh is quite dense.
Yeah.
He's a teenager.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're going through their things.
Yeah.
And I can speak to animals very easy. I'm definitely from the insect realm.
Yeah.
So I can speak to the insects really beautifully.
Nice.
And they're always in my field. There's always butterflies and insects.
I was going to say, you've got that fairy energy about you too.
Yeah.
It's this beautiful light kind of fairiness about you.
Yeah, and I do. That's why I always speak into the whimsy.
Yes.
Because I feel my paintings are definitely from my inner child.
Yeah.
That's that beautiful little girl that wanders around Mum's flower garden.
Yeah.
Do you want to just hold the one with the flowers on up? Because that's a beautiful example of the whimsy and just like it's
and all
like
the insects and
like dancing with.
You actually,
there's a lot in there.
You would have listened to probably Lena's, her book, Anethia.
Yep.
You should read that.
Okay.
you will love that.
I will love that.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone will love it.
Everyone will love
Yeah,
it, but
it's
I think
incredible.
you'll really resonate just with you with the flowers and
Listen,
you know how you've been gardening all your
I
life. Now
love
you're drawing.
gardening.
Like
Yeah.
I think you'll really enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other piece of magic nature, totally random Gemini drop in here, is
We love it.
yoni baking.
Oh,
So if you can ever get yourself
I'm
in
a
your
bit
beautiful
excited. Okay, hang on.
baking.
Before you explain that, my mind is just exploring a few options there. It's
I just pictured biscuits made out of vaginas.
Yeah.
Vulvas.
Yeah.
so please explain.
Yeah.
So another coach that I had, which is Corey Taylor, she's also from New Zealand. She downloaded this beautiful modality called the Kanika, which is basically these symbols of gold rings which all link together, and it teaches you the preface of being the ball in the middle, and then as you can hold yourself deeper and deeper, you get to the edge, and that's when most people don't jump, they shrink.
Wow.
So she teaches you how to come back through your body to hold yourself into new capacities.
That's exciting.
Yes. So her preface was to teach us to be in our body. So one of the things was, come on, we're all going yoni baking.
Oh,
So
I know
we
what this
had
is
to,
now, yes.
yeah, we had to get nude, lie in our back garden, go to the beach, whatever.
Cookies.
Yeah.
No cookies. Well, you can have cookies if you wanted. It'll probably help you release some trauma. But if you can get your pussy in the sunshine, oh my God.
I've heard the perennial perineum. I can't even say it right.
Periphery.
Yeah, that part of you.
That's so funny. It's a funny, quick story. Trevor and I were down the beach at Talabudgera one day walking, and we decided to take a shortcut up through this June. There was this young girl sunbaking her perineum, and I just started laughing, and then Trevor was like, what? He didn't know where to look, the poor guy. It was just like, I didn't want her to see
feel
us,
uncomfortable.
to feel uncomfortable, so it was like reversing back. But yeah, very popular thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another one of her,
And very good for you too, I've heard.
yeah, and the feeling.
Yes.
So another superpower that's come in is because I was just so disconnected from my body. So basically I was shut down from the neck down. I was just completely disconnected. So I've actually started to feel in my body, and my intuition is spot on.
Beautiful.
And the literal feeling, and I can lie in bed at night and I can receive the full meditation downloads of whatever's coming in for me, and imagine my heart actually opening, and then when I wake up I can actually feel it crack. Because I was just so shut down. And,
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't think we take enough or think about that enough.
No. So that's why I call myself the heartist.
Yeah,
because
I
I
love
want
that.
you to come back into
I
your
love the
heart.
way you spell that with the H-E and then that
Capital
A-R-T.
ART.
Capital.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful expression.
Yeah, it was just that play on
creative.
words from another lady that I saw had played on it in a different way, and then I thought, well, that looks really good. So it was,
So the baking, do you think, is what has ignited more of the body feeling, the deep
because I
connection?
didn't know until I listened really to Brit's.
Yep.
I was
Yes.
literally thinking Britt would be just
Brit.
loving
Yeah.
listening
She'll
to
be
you.
loving
Yeah.
Yeah, I really because I'd known all the pieces, but the way that she explained it in the those
Somatic
feminine
sense.
aspects, because that's what I attracted in my partner Gav, was I was so masculine, like his mother. So he basically called in his mother.
Yes.
Because he hadn't done any mother wound stuff.
Yeah.
And all the controlling and the alpha female, and I'm so when I get out of alignment, I'm so bossy.
Right.
That too muchness.
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
And so now I know that if I'm being bossy, I need to move away.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's going through his own journey now of discovering his own masculinity, which he'd drawn in me, which Britt laid out perfectly. So I'd drawn in this man that was very feminine because I didn't want to see my feminine. So then this yoni baking, and then the yoni steaming.
Yes.
And then her other part of her coaching is money. So teaching you to love money. So one particular webinar we had to do, we had to come in our full lingerie with $1,000 cash.
Wow.
That we had to roll in. And if we didn't have $1,000 cash, as much cash as we could get.
Yeah.
We had to have it. So what we were basically doing was removing this prostitution code.
Yes.
And that being seen with money is a delicious thing.
Wow.
And so we had it tucked in, rolled in, and then you dance with it.
Oh.
And then at the end, you have the yoni steam with the group collective. So you can either be on screen and do it. And she, in her course before you get to this was the finale piece.
Yes.
This was our
God,
Christmas
I'm confronted
party.
just hearing you say all this.
I think it's fantastic. So exciting because literally everyone who's watching MAFS at the moment, Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
My friend is obsessed with it. You know who you are. She's in love with
I don't watch
one of the
TV.
girls.
No, I don't watch it either.
From Byron, and she's been in a similar relationship experience through this. And so anyway, so what I'm saying is it's very prevalent in mainstream society, but we're not identifying it. And this particular girl has received a lot of criticism for the way she is. But when you share these experiences you're having of dancing with the feminine and how liberating it is, and the programs that are entwined with, you know, you realize how defensive society is around releasing it.
Yeah.
But, you know,
and I actually almost felt like I was in a cult.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no one else does this. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But
which would have been huge for you too. Just talking about that part where you said when you're out of alignment, I go into control and all of that. That would have been really confronting for you, I can imagine.
Yeah, and I'm really love doing stuff I've never done before.
Yes.
Like I'm not. Sometimes it takes me a few goes, to get to you. But
it's
I
the
will,
Gemini in you, isn't it?
I will keep doing it.
Yes.
You know, I will keep.
Push
I've got to
through.
break that barrier. I can do that. I can do that. So
yeah.
Yay, listen up, ladies.
You can do it.
Up, you can do it.
And where was I going to go with that?
I'm dying to hear the end of it. So she got you to roll in.
In the money.
Yes.
So then we danced, and you could be on screen or off screen, and fully strip tease with the money.
Oh,
And then yoni steam at the end.
Wow.
Yeah. So just off the charts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Off the chart.
Yeah.
Then,
everyone must have
breaking
felt
down
fantastic.
barriers.
And some of us could be on screen, some of us had screens off. Like it was just all really optional.
Whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah. And then another part to the nakedness of this awakening of mine was in last year, I had a lot of rage that I had not confronted because as a child I wasn't able to be seen or heard in my rage, and I left home a lot.
Yeah.
Like I can remember packing my bag and going under the trees, or I'm going on a scout camp and I'm not even invited, and then off I'd go. And I'm not even invited. I'm going anyway. You can't stop me. And Mum would probably try and stop me. She'd lock me in my room.
Just on that note, with the Scouts or the Cubs, because when you mentioned you were the first girls to do it, the three of you.
So cool.
Because the brownies wasn't available or that kind of thing in the Girl Guide. So
I just didn't want to do it.
So you didn't want to do it. Was available, you didn't want to do it?
Didn't want to do it.
Okay, so that's why I was curious. So you chose to do the boys one.
But now I look back, it was because I was an objectified child by my father.
Okay.
And so I had to live that pattern of safety, of men seeing me beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that prefaced early on losing my virginity.
Yeah.
Early on only accepting my body if I was accepted by men.
Wow.
Like pushing myself in exercise to the point of, carving, skimping. Like I didn't have anorexia, but my sister definitely had an eating disorder based on this objectification, because Dad obviously did it to her as well. And I know that that's not his fault.
So you were never told you were beautiful or pretty or any of that when you were
yes, way too much.
Yeah,
And
I
objectified and sexualized. So he never touched us or anything,
Right.
but we were always like, well, gee, you look beautiful in that, or
okay.
sex. It's kind of like an undertone of sexuality, but in a non creepy way.
Right,
You know,
yes,
like a non pedophile way.
Yes.
It's like the next level under, I suppose you'd say. And so I realise now that that's why, and also because I'm this born leader, so I was never going to do if you told me to go to brownies. And I had a sisterhood wound that I came in with from 5 generations back. I was never going to be able to go to a girl
Yes.
group.
Yes.
Like I had to go, and the masculine in me was so like
you
this
were driven by that.
patriarchal
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
which came in from my mum's dad. He was very patriarchal. So it was quite fascinating how it all pieces together.
So powerful to see it, isn't it?
It
And
is.
unravel it and explore it and
And I love that you can just talk about it so freely. Like
Yeah.
you've really worked on all of it.
Yeah, because I had another amazing coach who's still coaching me now. She's a wealth consciousness coach, 2 ladies, Maria and Nicole. And they teach you in your marketing to never talk about the wound when it's open and weeping. You only talk about it when it's the scar and healed. Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
the premise is that you just make the wound, you're too vulnerable in the wound.
In the wound, and obviously there's discrepancies and people want to speak into it, but if there's less drama attached to it while you're in it, because you're going to be very emotional and you're not going to be able to speak from it necessarily from a place of power because you're still in it and you could possibly be triggered.
Bleeding out.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's a big one. Yeah, so I really loved that. She taught me that like middle of last year maybe, and that's really helped with my marketing.
And I feel like when you're talking about it, you don't identify with it, which is a big difference.
Which is why they say she suggests to speak it from the skull. Yes.
And I guess you're out of the blame aspect of it as well. You know, you can really see it for what it is as opposed to it being, again, not the inner...
Yeah, which brings us back to that forgiveness piece.
Which brings the self-responsibility, which is really powerful.
Yeah, and I take radical responsibility. So I'm like, I had another beautiful coach, and I want to acknowledge them all because I wouldn't be here today without them. And I was like, well, I'm just going to let it all unfold.
Community is amazing, isn't it? And
totally.
It is. We do so much on our own. Yeah, like it all comes down to us.
Yeah, it does.
But
they activate us.
Yes. And to acknowledge people who've been with you on your journey, I think makes it possible for so many other people to seek help or to realise that there are people available, and that we are stronger together. And like coming back to what you were saying about walking each other home, it's paying it forward in so many ways, isn't it, when you're helping someone else?
Oh, it's just amazing. So this lady's name's Christine Toner. She works in Melbourne, and I called her in.
I'm writing down all these names.
She is like the divine feminine. She has worked, so she's just off the chart. She's like my mum. She was just born galactic. She didn't have to be born numb and then work it out. She had to do it the other way around. And so she taught me the preface of sales, marketing and money through the body and deeply knowing your own value. And she has this incredible work called the Glow Shift. And it's a 30-minute meditation, 2 rounds of 15 minutes of meditation that she had channeled through her, and she teaches you how to feel in your body, find what the block is using source, then feel where it is, picture what it looks like, taste like, senses like, then give it a story if you need to. But now she also works with the fact that we don't need a story. We just need the feeling, and we just need to let it go. Cool. So when I was pregnant with Ari, I just started that work, and so it's 4 years now. And I would have done that. So the meditation itself would be equivalent to a kinesiology session. That's how powerful it is.
Wow.
And you would have to make an investment to purchase the shift. But I would have, I couldn't put a number on it, but it would be close to 10,000 times that I've done this. So that's how many blocks that I've released. And she is my friend now, like beautiful, like sistership, soulship, friendship. And the unbelievable unfolding of, just the knowing that you can heal yourself.
Yeah.
she gifted me that meditation, but ultimately it's me. It was
Yes.
me that chose that every time I'm feeling uncomfortable to learn to feel into my body. And so it's really amazing because now I just turn it on and then all of a sudden it's from my grandma. It looks like bubble gum. It's a giant big grey cloud. It's in my stomach. It's full of anxiety.
Wow.
And you rate it.
Yeah.
So she teaches you this rating system of rating your pain or your trauma. And then the idea is to keep listening to it over and over and over, and she calls it a trauma lockdown. So she doesn't have any kids, so she can lock herself down for days and days.
Yes.
But with Ari, I do as many as I can to get it down,
Yes.
or the space that I'm in. And I've also channeled one very similar for my customers, but it's through art. So it's prefaced off working with the body, but very different to what Christine offers, because it includes the art therapy, which is basically wash away, because I've got watercolors, so it helps you wash away whatever traumas you've got. And we use the insect and the butterfly and the fairy realms, so it really does call in those people, which comes back to Joe's question of the 4D bridge worker.
Yes.
So when my nan died, I wanted to see a clairvoyant to chat to her, because I didn't yet realise I could just chat to her. I thought I had to go through someone because I just had that belief system, but that's gone
as most people do.
So I've dropped that now. I know I can just she's actually right here right now. So I went to see Penelope. I can't remember her surname, but anyway, she helped me understand that my purpose here on earth was to be this 4D bridge worker, which basically means I hold the hand of somebody that wants to jump from 3D to 5D, but they don't know how to get there. They're very confused, but they're already on the bridge. So I can't help anybody that's not got any alternative thinking. My clients that I currently coach, I call in people with really deep trauma, but I think this is because the work that we do is attaching no story. I don't attach us. I encourage them really not to give it a story unless it really needs one, to let it go. And then with the painting and allowing it doesn't even have to be painting. Like for one of my clients, she just will not feel into being creative right now. It's not possible for her, but puzzles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just releasing through the active meditation of a puzzle has helped her move through
that.
things.
Which is
I like
seeing a
jigsaw
picture
puzzles.
come to life, isn't it, in front of you, and you can choose the landscape or the butterfly, the fairy.
Yeah, so it's basically getting out of your head. And people say, well, as a Gemini, how did you do that? It's like, well, I had to embrace active meditation, which is anything that gets you out of your head. So surfing, gardening, woodwork, crafting, walking, just walking with no thought, or letting the thoughts pass through you. It's a different way of being. It was very, very difficult for me. Any Geminis out there, and Librans, and it's the air sign. Oh my God,
You have to work on that one, don't you? And you've got to also find your way. Because someone else, your friend or the next person next to you, may not have the same thing that you have that it's going to get you through.
And I hosted a retreat, which was another deep part of my awakening. One part of it was that I didn't know how to receive love, and two was there's another part of this sisterhood space. So it was it was just before COVID. It was in the July, and I invested like 20 grand into getting the Bell River House at Tumbolgum, which is this beautiful 10-star Airbnb. And I catered it myself, fully vegan, and taught people how to cook and took them through frequency medicine. And it was a 3-day retreat. Because of COVID, we couldn't get the film crew we wanted, so we got a different one to film it, and the idea was to turn it into courses and blah, blah, blah. And I invited people I sort of knew, people that were my good friends, and then people I didn't know at all.
So
because I asked my friends to bring people, their friends, because you had to share a bed. And I charged them $100.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Wow.
I just want you to have this. I just want you to have this and all of this for $100 because... one, I didn't know my own value, and I hadn't understood self-worth is net worth because I was still in that trauma. But So we did this. It was incredible. Like, I blow my mind, and it was all videoed. So it took me a long time to watch it back because I didn't want to see myself. But 5 days after it, at the end of the retreat, my beautiful partner Gavin got all of my attendees to go down to the Tumbulgum River, because I live in Tumbulgum, so it's the Tweed River, and video a testimonial about 7 minutes each.
Oh, amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
I played them back, and I still play them back. It's 4 years later. Like, I just cry. I just cry and cry and cry. And then, because I had never, like, one of the women too, on the way down to the lunch on the end of the day, held my hand. Now, I had not had my hand held by a woman who just cared for me. Like, couldn't even remember.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, so my heart just cracked open, and then because I hadn't learnt about getting to the edge and jumping, I just shrunk straight back down. And then I just went into more trauma and more trauma loops and not understanding what was going on. And at the time, so for 20 years, so basically from the time that I left school until just before I had Ari, I was a merchandiser, and I worked in basically homewares. So I got to go to all the beautiful little boutiques and the clothing stores and the homeware stores and everything all across Brisbane and Queensland and northern New South Wales. And then I ended up working in one. So I was basically a merchandiser, and I made things look beautiful all the time. And this was my creative outlet and my channel. And until I had Ari, I didn't realise that that's why my life was so good, because all the time I was so creative, and I could block out all of my pain, because 8 hours a day I was being creative, and my magnetism was calling in the people to the shops that I was at to chat to about all sorts of random Gemini things. So I was just delusional in this
element.
magical thinking place, you know. And so it was just,
so fabulous.
Everything was just this, you know, this last 5 years has just been absolutely the most healing time of my life, and the most painful, tragic, unbearable pain. You know, the amount of times, I can probably count 12 times where I have cried that deeply in the shower, in the bottom of the shower, in that physical pain. Using these techniques and all the tools to get myself through it, not, you know, doing my best not to blame. There was still times where I was definitely passing blame. But now I know that it's all me, and everything that I'm feeling is a reflection. And when my partner and I got together, we were in avoidant anxious attachment. And so I've worked through all of my anxious attachment, and he's still having to confront a lot of his avoidance. But the best gift of being with an avoidant partner is they don't ever answer you. So when you learn to manifest money, you have no attachment to the outcome. Because that is how you manifest money and things, is you put it out there and let it go. So when you're with an avoidant person, they don't ever answer you, so you get no answer. So, and that's the universe, because it's known and unknown ways.
So you're honing that skill, basically, is that what you're saying?
There's these secret gifts, which is what Britt was saying on her podcast, which was, you know, if we can see everything in the duality of the lesson, and then what my coach Debbie politely tried to reinforce for 9 months, and then had to like throw it in my face at the end and say, if you don't do this, I can't coach you next year. I'm like, okay. So I did do it, and I knew that I could do it. And it was this rage, which circles me back to the nudity again. This is what you get hosting a Gemini. You'll get
I love
all the stories.
We're fine
Perfect.
Perfect.
I had to, she suggested that I transmute this rage through painting nude to rage music.
Cool.
Wow.
So she sent me a playlist.
Big canvas.
Well, I set up the house with plastic.
Whoa. Oh my God.
So that if you go to my Instagram, it's in there.
That's hilarious.
And I started out with a canvas that was only like 90 by 70, and I'm like,
that's not enough.
I need a room. Actually, I need bigger rooms. Lots of rooms.
So I had 4 pieces of black plastic. Pink, black and clear, and I had 6 bottles of squirty paint, and it was just so liberating.
I can feel that.
So you just squirt it on yourself, squirt it on the ground, roll around in it, and
scream, yell.
and I had not ever felt my own power in that divine, rage.
Yeah.
And so this like I can just like, I felt like the phoenix rising. Like I just, like, because no one was home, I just stomped down in this paint and squatted down like all raw as if you're about to birth and just screamed. And then I had to go, what just happened? Like I didn't, like, I was a bit all like, what was that? Like I didn't know that I had that power. So it's these feelings that have come back through me that now I can cultivate, which is what I did when I came today with the pleasure.
Yeah.
So I made sure that I was prepared last night. I wouldn't be rushing with my family, and that I had a beautiful outfit picked, and I chose me to have a shower.
Yeah.
And I actually had a self-pleasure session before I came.
Fabulous.
To
No
make
wonder
sure
you
I
look
was
so
in the
good.
goddess. Releasing all of the energy,
She
channeling
did
the
have a smile.
Kundalini.
It's like I love everything you just said, because like I'm very much like that too. If I'm going somewhere where I know my intention needs to be, I like to do all the things, have everything organised, so I'm not rushed. I'm not any. The self-pleasure thing. I need to work on that one. But I actually totally agree with where you're going. It's another wonderful release, so you can go into that space clear.
And I kept the energy in, which I've just learnt how to do.
I've been
Been
hearing
learning how
about
to do
this.
that.
Yes.
Yeah. So which was
another
divine.
podcast.
Because do you call it Taoist or tantric, or what is the technique that you would call that?
It would probably be tantric, I'd say. Like Kundalini, because you're basically keeping the Kundalini
inside.
Yeah.
Which is just what came up for me when you were talking about that before was, we talk a lot about the flame within us, or that's gone out, or it's dwindled. It hasn't gone out, it's just dwindled. And I think that everything that you've talked about today is about igniting that flame in every aspect, like everything you've talked about. Yeah. And to be able to have that, for me right now, listening to you, it's like you're on fire. It's like this flame is like
fully present.
Fully present.
And I am going through deep trauma with my partner as well, but I've learnt to separate myself from that. Yeah. And that I'm not his energy, and I'm not the drama that is that. Yes. I am me, and I hold myself in this power and deal with that. Yes. Which is how I've been able to hold my clients as well through this, which I used to previously look at my mentors and coaches and say, how on earth do you do that? Because I just kept crumbling, because my nervous system could not hold it because of the trauma that I had been through. But now that I know how to hold myself and be okay with all those shadow parts of me, which I completely ignored. And as a Gemini, you don't have 10, you've got like 40 of them. Yes. It's just, and being a double Gemini, it's actually really quite nice, because who you are on the inside is who you're being perceived as. So it's actually, people go, because if you're rising sign and your sun sign, you're actually presenting differently to your inner world, but it's the same for me. Yeah. So it's
your rising and sun is Gemini.
And my moon is Leo, which is where all the heart and the fierceness comes from. Yeah. So it's the
and
other
magnetism.
Oh yeah. But I have to preface and thank and gift Nia dancing. So has any of you guys known Nia?
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
My God.
What is it? I've never heard of it.
So it's a 13 principal practice of dance. I can't tell you what all the things are in the movements, but we do, basically it starts off with the Tai Chi, then you move into the modern dance and pattern dancing, and there's 52 steps. Wow. And so I have a teacher, Rebecca Kelly, and Taran Palastra, if I can say it correctly. And then my newest teacher is Belinda, who was a dancer with us.
I think I have danced with Karen.
Yeah. And so Belinda's out at the stables, and Taran and Rebecca co-teach down at Kingscliff and at Tugan. And in COVID, my mum is a rock and roll dancer, and she couldn't go to any dances because they were all shut down. Yes. So she had to find a release. So she found Nia dancing, because Nia was still considered, like a
social
gym,
good kind of thing. Or,
like a movement practice that was still for self-preservation or exercise or whatever. And
therapeutic.
Yeah, therapeutic. That's what it was. Yeah. So and I can still remember we went in, and I felt so unsafe being in this room of women. I held her hand like a little girl, and this other woman, Helen, came across the room, and I will never forget this. And she said, "You've inspired me to go home and hold my daughter's hand." She said, "I haven't done that for years." To my mum. But mum only stayed 3 times, and I've been dancing for 4 years. And I
She
danced.
took you there.
Yeah, she did. And I think that was the purpose of it. She was to lead me there, and I did something with her, and then off I went. And I danced from basically just before I was pregnant with Ari.
Wow.
And I still dance with Ari now. He's on the front of me when we dance.
Oh,
And
gorgeous.
just seeing his evolution in this dance space, because it teaches you free dance. And as I was saying before about my dyslexia, so
It's fantastic for that, 'cause like you're saying, like the different styles of movement and everything, your brain's
so it's completely rewired itself. So I still would have said 4 years ago I had 500 words I couldn't spell, but I'd worked out how to get myself through. I'm like the best thesaurus you can ever imagine, because if I can't spell it, I've got to think of another way to say it, another word to use. So that's another superpower.
It is a superpower. That's well done.
So now I probably got 50 words that I can't spell.
Unreal.
Yeah. So if anyone out there wants to remap their brain, any type of dance movement, but this one specifically is left, right. And a lot of the ladies that come are from my age through to 90.
Yeah.
We've got some 90-year-old ladies that dance.
So this is all about being uncoordinated too, isn't it? That's exactly what it's about. That's me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And just going, well, I can do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and our teachers make up new routines often.
Yeah.
And so it's great for me, because if I get too embodied in it, I'll go back to my head.
Yes. Yes.
Instead of being in my body.
Yeah.
And each of them brings their own essence, and that's what is described as part of NIA, is bringing the essence of the teacher to the movement.
Yes.
So my particular teacher, Taran, she's very grounded.
Yeah.
She's a very grounded, beautiful woman, and she tells incredible stories. And they're called pearls. So in NIA, there's different belts that you do, like in karate or whatever, that enable you to learn new parts to embody into your movement. And the purpose of NIA dance is the joy of movement. So it's basically taught me to be joyful, because I was foreboding joy my whole life with control. I was just controlling the way that I was so controlling about the way I ate, the way that I exercised, the way that I was perceived, you know. And then as I slowly let this go and my field changed, I called in NIA. And so now, I think it was 3 weeks ago at the Stables, the new event centre down at Wollongbar with Stacey. Murray Kyle and Josh Lovegrove played there.
Oh, beautiful. We love
In the-
Murray Kyle.
I know, in the round.
Yeah.
And Josh was so funny when he started to speak. He goes, I don't know where to go. There's too many mics. Because he was in the round. It was one of his dreams. So he wanted to sing and perform in a round. And Murray came in with him. And at the end, they did this improv dance or meditation, sing. And we were all encouraged to either rest into it, move, or just use our voices.
Wow.
So however we showed up. So there was 90 of us in the ring, and they were in the middle. And so what ended up happening was the whole space just turned into like one entity. So we were asked to, be who we were.
Yeah.
Express. And so I lied down, because I'm like, I'm just going to receive this. I'm like, yep, all comfy under my blanket, got my cashmere on. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. And I get this lightning bolt from Spirit. Get up and dance. Like, you've got to be kidding me. And just 3 weeks before, when I'd seen Murray Kyle at Yukai Markets, I tried to get up and dance in front of everyone. It took me half an hour of courage.
Yes.
Because there was all these people sitting around, and I was going to dance, but one other lady got up with me and we did it together, and I felt safer. So I'd kind of been given this edge already.
Yeah.
Anyway, I stood up and no one else was up. I'm like, oh my God. Still. I'm like, oh my God. Close your eyes. So I channeled the Sing movie. The kids' Sing movie where Mina gets up and Mr. Moon says, it's okay, just sing and all the nerves will go away. So I just went dance so I just shut my eyes and danced. And then as I opened my eyes, I saw contact dancers. I'd never seen contact dancing. I was like, oh my God, what is this? I was like,
What is that?
so it's where you completely trust your partner and you all fold into each other.
It's on. There's a lot of it on Instagram. It's freaking amazing. It's like you'd swear they've been rehearsing for years. The reading of their bodies. It's just
so it was like epic. All these people were laid down on the outside receiving. Then there was this embodiment of all of us dancers in the middle, in between, and then Josh and Murray in the middle.
Yes,
and
How fabulous for the artist to receive.
Yeah, to see that too. Yeah, to be there and
Yeah, and it was like an initiation for
Yeah.
Stacey's space, because I've been doing
Wow.
Stacey's bungee and her yoga as well, and she's just come back from living overseas for a really long time.
Wow.
And just like all of these parts, which is the lived experience of the 6-3, which is just like, I also had my PH 360 done as well from, is it Genevieve who came?
Oh, Genevieve Sell.
Yeah, so I didn't end up going
amazing.
through her because I had a girlfriend that ended up doing it, so I went through her, but I am going to see Genevieve because she specialises in couples. Now that I've embodied what it is, and I had my hormone type done, so I'm serotonin, which is the lived experience. So it's like the human design, the numerology, and the PH 360 all come together. And so I got a download about 5 years ago that that's what's to come with, and also with the Akashic records. So my huge mission is to get all 5 of those.
Oh, what you want to offer
integrated.
people. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so they don't have to go to 5 different people and spend $35,000 like I have to understand it.
Yes.
But I was the best person to invest that money because I go all in on everything that I do.
Yeah.
You know, I want to deeply embody this, and because I did the human design, I now know that if I don't deeply embody it, I can't teach it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And
that's part of who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, so this lived experience has been taking me on places too, because from the human design in my understanding how I receive energy and respond to what's available has now given me this feeling in my body that goes hell yes or no.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I've got that so strong now. And I can be like standing somewhere and I feel all ungrounded and I'll just go, should I do this or this? And it's this.
Yeah.
You know, it's instantaneous.
That's a brilliant
that's lovely.
direct route to be able to continue on your path of the serotonin life.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting in the suffering, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
which
the
is what I was
confusion,
doing, basically.
which we all,
Foreboding
well,
all
a lot of us do. We don't have that guidance within us honed or get that muscle exercised, as we've kind of talked about in different ways, to help us take that step, trusting, asking ourselves what to do, and soul answering.
Yeah, but basically, if it wasn't for your podcast, I never would have met these people.
Wow. Yay. Go.
You know,
Thank you, everybody.
And the podcast
Girl
came
Awakening.
through me because my little boy ended up, because he's unvaccinated, he ended up with a beautiful lady called Kerry, who is an off-grid carer. And
Fabulous.
just found out that the song lines go through her garden, which is why she calls in all these kids.
Oh, wow.
And she ends up with these light beings, which is
Like
Ari.
your son.
Yeah, and it's just the unfolding. And I met her through a chicken that came into my garden, you know?
As you do.
Exactly. Like I've got thousands
are
of those.
smart.
Yes, thousands of those stories. You know, where when you come into
Was it
that
her chicken?
alignment. No, it was 2 doors down. The neighbour's chicken got out, and she happens to be a daycare facilitator who Kerry used to work for, but because of the situation, she left. And she said, "Oh, she'd love to have Ari."
Oh,
So,
wow.
There you go.
Yeah, you just
Chicken
got
had to run
the
to
chicken
your-
had to run to be in my garden.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
to let Ari go to care, so that mummy could help rise humanity. Yeah. So
Amazing.
the other amazing experience that I just had recently, because of the dancing and encompassing wanting to, like, I basically say to the universe, show me what's possible.
Yeah.
You know, show me what's possible. And so then you get these deep initiations, which sometimes you don't want, but
You asked for it.
I asked for it, so I got to get it. So I ended up on International Women's Day at this festival at the Burring Bar Hall with Freya, and I don't know her surname because she just needs to be called Freya.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's an Indigenous woman, and she created this event, and she's part of the Women Speak, which is where you come into group and learn to speak, then be helped to encourage to speak differently so you're heard and then celebrated.
Wow.
So she had, I think, I walked into the room and I'm like, oh my God, I am the least awake person in here.
Oh, wow.
And I said to universe, okay, let's do this. So it was listening to speakers, dancing, eating delicious food cooked by amazing people. She had market stalls set up as well. They were placed underneath Freya's artwork, which was all around the room. Like, it was beautifully designed, like all of your space here. And these women were sitting on a sheepskin rug, like pleasured up in silk, and linen outfits
wow.
with plants and artwork. And I walked in and I'm like, oh my God, is this a dream? Like, what is happening here? And the space being held by these women, because as I got to know the day, it was just, they were just off the charts embodied.
Oh, wow.
You know, because of this beautiful bubble that we live in the Northern Rivers, where
Yes,
everyone's, you know,
yes.
vibing this. So it was just like,
Holding the space for the rest of the country
Wow.
/ planet.
yeah, exactly. It was just like, what is happening to me? And so we did the 5 rhythms dancing, and I just was not space for a fairy in this hall. So
Yes.
I like went down to the garden and I turned around. There's like 5 people up there watching me. So I had to like just keep dancing. And then all these blue butterflies came in. And then the one thing that just absolutely blew my socks off was there was the 5 stalls that were around the edges, and the stall holders got called back to the stalls so that Freya could come and celebrate everyone for their creations and get them to share what they'd brought so that we could all buy their things.
Yes.
You know, because money in their hands is better than money in the multi.
Of course.
I love the way you just described that.
Yeah.
Celebrate their women's offerings.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So one of the other ladies that was there, Rebecca, she's got a stall. She's like a really beautiful contemporary visionary artist, and she's also got some handmade things. And she just, so she's in this beautiful white silk dress with navy underwear. Like, she's pleasured up
Fabulous.
with the hair and the earrings, just rocking it. She doesn't stand at her stall. She lies down a sheepskin rug in front of it with a pillow and lies on it. Here I am.
Just relax.
I'm the goddess that created
I'm the
this.
goddess that created this. If you'd like to talk to me, you need to sit down. So I did.
Epic. Wow.
It was just,
Well, I love the fact that you actually sat down with her, because I know a lot of women that are still maybe caught in areas that aren't, you know, that haven't done the work, as we say, would probably judge that instead of just being with it.
But she was so sexy as well. Like, she was just, you could just feel this.
Yeah.
And then at the end of every part of the day, the facilitator would just have to sit on a chair in front of us all and receive popcorn style all of the praises, which is what they do in Women's Speak.
Yeah.
So Fran also teaches this down at Kingscliff at the Saltwater Studio. And at the end, we all got to listen to a beautiful musician whose name will come to me in a moment. And she's playing to us all. And I've never been to, like, I'm pretty naive with some of this stuff. Like, a lot of people have done things like this, but I'm, like, new. And everyone's, like, laid down, like, touching and stroking each other. And I'm just like, this feels really nice, but, like, are they polyamorous? Are
Yes.
they,
Is
like,
there something
what
else
is
going
this?
on?
Is
How
there
far is it
something
gonna
like,
go?
how do I get over there? Like, how do I get on this rug? Like, I want a foot massage and my hair played with.
Yeah.
And so I'm lying there and I'm observing, and we're listening to all this beautiful music. And then all of a sudden the musician just gets nude.
Oh, wow.
So she just goes, well, I'm just going to sing nude now. And she takes off her clothes and stands there as a fully embodied, divine, gorgeous creature, channeling Source, playing this music to us. So at the end, I decided to go and ask one of the ladies who made me feel particularly safe when we did her embodiment journey. And I said, are you guys polyamorous? She goes, no, we all just know, and we're friends, and we know we like contact, and we know what we like, and we're just being present with being touch people.
Yeah.
I was like, right, sign me up for that.
Yes.
So just feeling into this, because I really am a contact person,
Yes.
and so are my sons. And so to feel that in a non-sexual way,
Yes.
and to understand
that's
that
confronting in itself.
Yeah.
And not common.
Not common.
No, it wasn't, but there was a lot. It was like a third of the room.
Yeah.
But it wasn't sexual.
And
Well,
it's another way of starving ourselves to not receive that contact,
Yes,
isn't it?
it
Because
is.
it's so
Yeah.
harmonizing, and we come online in ways that we don't when we're not receiving touch.
No, it was just, and even when we were all laid down, the people that weren't in this group of women that knew each other, that were stroking hair and stuff, like one lady lied on my feet by accident, but it felt so empowering to like be part of this group where people were all, and everyone was sharing their blankets and their pillows, and, you know, and it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I remember a lady who we know, who was sharing with us sharing with me one day about a massage that she went and had, which was with another lady, where she went naked and the lady massaged her all over to orgasm.
Wow.
But there was no
Tantric is the tantric.
Is it? Is that what it's called? Yeah. And I found it hard to even listen to her talk about it. I was like, oh my God, that's like, I don't, where.
Yep.
Oh, like I'm speechless now, even trying to communicate it.
What do you want to say about it, Jo?
It's interesting, and like that's super confronting in itself. It's like that's really embodiment there, when you can just go and lie on a table and have somebody come and massage you without even touching her in sacred places, to bring her to orgasm, and to be able to then orgasm as well in that space with that person that you don't know.
And this is the path for me to share with people, the rising.
Yeah.
It's not about what anyone else wants, but what you want.
Yes.
And what I put into my field. So I leverage my field with a Healy device, the quantum frequency medicine, and I use it with my clients.
Amazing.
So I've had it on in my basket here with the heart
What is it?
coherence. It's the Healy quantum healing medicine.
Wow.
So it's a little device. It's in my purse. And it harmonizes your field. This is it here.
Wow, how cool.
And I've had mine 4 years, and it learns to it's smarter than you.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's got 144,000 different frequencies it reads your field and then tells you what you need and what to dose.
Oh, wow.
And now it's got a new program part of it called the Coach, which the Healy community themselves are using to help women leverage their wealth.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's my next part, is using these beautiful embodied skills that I've got to help women through my art and being a heARTist and opening my heart, and then using their quantum medicine, which is obviously a gift from the universe.
Yeah.
And such a step into true nature to have that quantum medicine available. Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Well, we were actually talking about this, and I think it's what you're talking about. Maybe, sometimes we just word things differently, but around miracles, and that, miracles are happening around us all the time.
Yep.
Are we awake and aware enough to notice them happening?
Yep.
And I think basically throughout the podcast, that's what I've been getting from you, is like that you are now open
to accessing
miracles that are continually happening around you and for you, which is another big one too, that everything is happening around us for us, not to us.
Because speaking of miracles, my big son Josh went through some quite diverse situations, not last year but the 2 years previous, and he was admitted to hospital 4 times for suicide attempt. And so we had to go on that journey together, and my nervous system suffered deeply. But the lessons from this are that I ignored getting him help because I was so stubborn about wanting to get normal help.
Yes.
And then I just went, Melissa, you've got to do something.
Yeah.
This kid is screaming out to you for what he wants. He's asking for his needs to be met, and you're ignoring him. So let's just provide what he asked for.
Yeah.
So I took him to the psychiatrist and the psychologist. He feels loved and heard. He ended up having to take some anti-anxiety medication and some ADHD medication, which we have since worked out was only needed to take it at school.
Right.
Yes,
but because he's high spectrum autism, diagnosis from the psychiatrist then allowed me to deeply research that and understand what I'd ignored for 14 years as a mother, and face all of that, heal our wounding together. We have a special ritual like every 2 or 3 weeks where we sit at the dinner table and I'll say to him, right, is there anything in the mother wound that needs clearing? Is there anything that you need to speak to me about? Is there anything, resentment that you're holding? And he'll say it to me, and I do not pass judgment. I receive all of it, and we work together, and he is my biggest soul reflection. I love him so much. And he's transitioning as well, like into a they. So he's just the most beautiful human. Oh my gosh.
Isn't it fabulous to because what I'm hearing you say then too is like when you were pregnant with him and your first child and that part of your life and everything, it's still another level of our own healing journey, even though it's all about them. It's all about us. And another part to, the open wound that's been there kind of along for the ride the whole time. And that we do. We do. And
it was a big open wound, like a big one. And so the miracles that came from this was I'm not flushed with, well, I wasn't flushed with funds at this particular
Yeah.
time, and I'm working on the manifestation of that because that's a whole nother story.
Mm.
And we got gifted because Josh spoke up and because we asked for help. The universe met us where we were at. So
Yes.
we manifested a $20,000 free psychology for a year for Josh.
Wow.
And then just out of this blue, this random lady rang me from a service in Byron and said, would Josh like an extra carer for an hour a week for 2 years to help him goal set? So he has this carer that comes to help him,
Wow.
who's a grown man that's suffered his own experiences, that's now chosen to help
Unreal.
kids with suicide
That's
issues.
beautiful.
Like, just the reciprocity, that's
Yeah.
you've just got to be available to receive, and that's what
Yeah.
I blocked because
Yeah.
we were also in those two huge floods, so 2017 and
Yes.
2022, and the biggest lessons from those was receiving, because you lose everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and you're in a basically a survival situation.
Yeah.
And with the last flood, I had done so much work on myself that I knew how to receive this time. So every time something was available, even if I still had one, I
Yes.
said yes.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I knew that there'd be someone else who wouldn't know how to receive and
Yes.
wouldn't say yes.
Perfect.
And so I ended up with the most amazing amount of miracles, Joe. Like,
Yeah.
You just cannot, like, I got brand new Miele washing machines.
Yeah.
Like, clothes I wouldn't even have thought that I could even afford were
Yeah.
like dropped at my doorstep. Like, the
Beautiful.
generosity was just
Amazing.
incredible. And this is just keeps what's happening. Like, last week I got accepted for a grant by the Tweed City Council for a business coach
Unreal.
for 20 grand.
Yeah.
Look, I don't have 20 grand
Yes.
now, but here it is.
Yeah.
You take that.
Wow.
You know, I've been invited to host some workshops, which I never thought was possible. It's just opening up your field.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And but you have also been doing the work,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you've
And
been
felt the pain.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, you have to. I mean, yes, things can just happen too.
Yeah, they
That's
can.
not. We don't
Yeah.
want to limit anyone.
No, we don't want
But it also is true that you put in the work and you open areas up that may have been blocked before, and you know you can absolutely open to so much more when you're in there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just been the most, you know, even to last year I was still in victim. I was still feeling that, what Britt said in the podcast about the fact that, you know, everything that I've encompassed was considered to be, you know, outcast, the devil, you know. And now I've just let that go unknowingly and done the work to go, well, here I am.
Yeah.
And step into
And
creative.
step into it and trust. You have to trust. Yeah. And the other one of my superpowers that came on was hearing my higher self talk to me, like in sentences.
Yeah.
Which just when that first happened, I was like, "What is this?"
Mm.
Now it's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And she's very bossy.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. I think we're all kind of wanting that to happen, aren't we? We're like, what do I do next? Help me.
And I just say that, and then I get the answer.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't like the answer.
Yeah.
And like a lot of your guests have said, you know,
Yes.
I'm going to follow what you say, but what the hell for?
Yeah.
And then that's when the magic happens.
Absolutely. Sometimes we have to walk through parts that we don't want to walk through.
Oh yeah.
That's
So
the
when you
tough
talk
part.
about your superpowers,
Yeah.
so you've kind of named your skills that have come about by through awakenings as your superpowers, isn't it? It's we're sort of
And also transversing those shadow parts. So my deep perfectionist wound, which was basically came about from people pleasing, because I never got any praise as a child unless I cleaned the house. And then I worked out how to make it cleaner and cleaner and cleaner to get approval.
Yeah.
And then I did that with my first husband and my current partner.
teach OCD.
Yep. And then I couldn't be messy, so it wasn't until I got into my coaching class last year where I learned to paint, where I had to learn to be messy.
Yeah.
Because that's when I learned to hold my space and the self in the void and the messy middle, where I always tried to run. And my little girl packed her bag and off she went.
Yeah.
So it's all of the pieces.
Oh, so many pieces, isn't it? When just listening to
So
you say that
exciting.
sentence you just said, then there's so much to unpack, but it's simple too.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be. It's like, it's so beautiful the way that you've explained it all for people listening, that they'll go, oh my God, yes, I resonate. There's so many parts that you've walked through.
Yeah, and the other piece I wanted to touch on was the self-loathing. So my mum, I've never seen my mum naked.
Yeah.
Like she still hasn't
Yes.
worked out her own presence and beauty, and she's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like she's so beautiful. Like
We
she's
are
kept
so
us
beautiful.
She is.
Yeah.
She's just so beautiful, and so to be nice to my body and love my body, and I really did do this work like 3 months ago on actually, like, every time I moisturize myself, I love myself, like, and the amount of tone that I have in my body just from doing that, not even exercise, just from loving her.
Beautiful.
And Corey Taylor, a lady coach from New Zealand, taught us about the round table, which is where you name all the parts of you, like you actually give them names so you can talk to them, which sounds crazy, but it's bloody work for me, a treat, especially a Gemini. Here's all your parts.
Yeah.
So we had to name our feminine and our divine masculine and our body, and then so on and so forth, whichever parts you were working with. So my body's called Frances, so I talk to her and call her Frances. I'm like, Frances, I love you. Thank you for dancing with me. When I journal, I write letters to her. I teach my clients to journal and then read it out into a voice a message and hear it back to them, because that's their higher self speaking to them.
Beautiful.
You know, there's just so many ways that, and as Kirsten said when she was on, it's never about looking outside of yourself to find out what's good for your spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You know, we were all given our own uniqueness, and you were given yours, because we might pair up.
Yeah.
And then that thing that you taught me works for me, but that piece that you taught me might not work for me.
Exactly.
And it's trying it all out.
Yeah.
You know, and being open. But
Yeah.
I've also learnt from my human design that with these open centers, I can rapidly change, which is another gift. I'm so open-minded when I'm in my aligned self, not my not self, because that's like a domino effect of spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
But coming back to that, I know that that's not easy for some people.
Yeah.
You know, and that when I call in these clients, the first thing I do is read their chart, because I want to know how flexible and easy this is going to be for them or me, without giving them this false hope either, because it is really in your chart.
Yeah.
Incredible tools, isn't it? Like, as you say, because, you know, being a Gemini mutable sign by nature, you're very quick to change, mind shift, as you said, chameleon shift shaping, you know, in seconds. And then to know you have those open centers, like your capacity to embrace so many modalities for a start, and then be the teacher of those is inherently magnificent.
Thank you.
But also, you know, when you're in the struggle, you know, a great level of mastery involved to hold all those spaces.
Yeah, and I just know that working with nature is the key. It doesn't matter how much pain you've got, how much, go fucking outside.
Yes.
Just go and take your shoes off and stand on the grass, even if you just learn to put out the washing with no shoes on, if your clothesline is on the grass. Like, if that is the only time. Like, I know women who haven't, like, they can't even remember the last time they touched grass. Like, well, when did you get all that electromagnetic energy out of your body? No wonder you're so in so much pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so true.
And we sleep on electric blankets.
Yeah.
And all those sort of
It's
things.
insane.
Yeah.
So
It's
I just,
crazy.
when I know I'm not good, that's
Straight out
the
there.
first thing I do is go straight to the beach
Yeah.
or straight to water. I'm
Yeah.
really drawn to water to just get it off. And I know the environment change is exactly what helps me immediately.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what type of trauma I'm in. I don't need to know any other information. I just need to know that tool will get me to the information, and the next thing will drop in, and it does. It always does.
So that's sort of bringing you back to being in the moment as well,
To the
for
now,
that
the present moment.
now, the present. Yeah.
Because if we're not in the present, we can't make a decision, a proper, like, aligned decision. We're just going to be coming from the body and the mind, which is
Which can get us back into trouble.
big trouble.
Okay, I'm going to move on. We've literally nearly got an hour and a half.
Had
And
so
that's,
much fun.
I feel like I've just blinked a couple of times, and that's, you know, it's gone so quickly.
Yeah.
What do you do now to support yourself? I mean, we've talked about many things to stay in the moment. Well, you've kind of just answered that question.
Yeah.
Definitely nature. But the other piece would be not denying myself the bodily human things. You know, I used to secretly eat cake.
Yes.
Because I'm like a 6th generation cake lover. Because we're all bakers in my family, and I would be like starving myself of sugar.
Yeah.
When actually a really beautiful handmade, and if you want to know where to eat good cake that's handmade and it's got love in it, I can tell you.
Yeah, we would. We would.
Because it's very hard to
Definitely.
find. It's
Absolutely.
very hard to
Like,
find.
what do you call that? Home baked?
Home baked,
Yes.
yeah.
It's like it's hard to
And,
find.
embodying the principles of sustainability first. So
Yeah.
sustainability of you,
Yes.
sustainability of what you put into your body, and the sustainability that you're offering the land that provides for us. We are all one, and that is the key.
That's beautiful.
And it doesn't matter what tools you put into that box.
Yeah.
They're your tools for
Yeah.
you on your blueprint that you've worked out that work for you, and you can only do that by coming back through you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Bam.
yeah, that's it.
Holding it on your own thread.
Yeah, and as soon as you try to step outside of your own uniqueness, when you learn to feel that, which is what I learned from social media, the scrolling for me when I was in the sisterhood wound was the smallness energy. Once I worked out what the smallness was, I then realized the wound was pedestaling other women and not celebrating myself. So then I stepped into a container where women were taught to celebrate themselves. And so now on a Friday at 1:30 we come into circle and we talk about our wealth goal, celebrate ourselves, have gratitude for those around us, and then we set our desires and we speak into it. And as you becomes a practice, it's almost like a meditation, because then we get put into breakout rooms and we speak it to other women and they all celebrate us in popcorn style after.
Oh my God, I'm loving this. So
Yep.
just for our
It's
listeners
so-
too, this is in the Northern Rivers.
It's this one's online actually.
Yeah.
Oh, it's online.
Yeah, this one's online.
Is there a
Yeah.
name for that? Just so
Yeah, it's called Rich Her. So
Rich,
as in her.
as in R-I-C-H.
ICHHER, and it's run by Maria Golding and
So-
Nicole Rowan.
Just for our listeners who
Yeah.
are resonating right now with what you're saying, I think a lot of women will be.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
heaps.
it's,
Yeah.
keep
That's
going.
a beautiful outlet to jump on to.
Yeah. So this is what I do in my work at my
Yes,
preface
I
is
love it.
when we offer when I offer the watercolor stuff, and then at the
Yes.
stables I'll be doing the rage painting
Perfect.
inside the horse stables.
Yeah.
Epic.
So Stacey and I are talking about the way that it'll basically, I'm feeling like it could be called like under the sheets or something. Because
Yeah.
you've buried all your feelings and we're going to hang
Yeah.
up sheets and then you can paint and throw, and it's like a 3-hour experience. And we take you through that essence of,
Be magic.
yeah. So that's,
I want
the
to ask if you
preface.
play Rage Against the Machine.
Well, this is the thing.
There's so
I
much
don't
cool
know
music to make
music.
us
Yeah.
I'm so
go for
terrible.
it.
I don't
Yeah.
know really
Yeah, me too.
artists. I don't know names. Like, don't invite me to trivia unless it's like
Yes.
spiritual trivia.
Yes, I'm the same with
I won't
music. I just
know.
go with what I like, or if someone
Yeah.
sings something or I listen to something, I'm like,
Or I just
sounds
reach
nice.
out to my favourite friend who's good at music and
Yes.
say, could you please send me a playlist for this? And they will.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I'm getting better.
No, absolutely.
But also the what you've been speaking around with the whole the prostitution and the money relationship,
Yeah.
and what was the other aspect of that? The tantric side of things with the touch,
Yeah.
and then it there's so much energy around that in the world at the moment, with the calling with the divine feminine and the divine masculine to be in balance.
Yeah.
And I think a part of that energy rising, which is so exciting to see, is a lot of what you've been talking about, but specifically that space around how women have such an unhealthy relationship with money
They do, yeah.
for so many reasons.
Yeah, and I started the course with Maria and Nicole in June last year, and they're huge. Their tagline basically is your self-worth is your network,
Yeah.
your net worth,
Worth, yeah,
and
I
they
like
teach you the God principle. So it's G is for dare greatly, O is for be most organised. Oh no, I've got that wrong. Anyway, they teach this principle.
Yeah.
Basically
sounds
of gain clarity, be organised, and dare greatly.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
let go of your shit, take action, and have deep clarity and knowing and certainty before you know what to do.
Yeah.
And then that's what I missed in my magical thinking. So in my airy fairiness, I always had these incredible ideas but could never ground them.
Yeah.
And so now that I've released this magical Disneyland thinking, as Britt said, I have been able to manifest people that can be the divine masculine around me and
Yeah.
hold me in this
Yeah.
feminine, rather than me having to be the divine masculine and then disregard my feminine.
Yeah. Because there's so
Yeah.
much incredible information that needs to be heard
Yeah.
and shared
Thank you.
through you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just, trust now, and like I didn't do really any prep to come here other than know that I had to have my channel open. And what do I need to preface to get here today to have my channel open? And that has, thank you for that.
And again,
Well, we're
you've been
thankful
so,
for that. It's been so amazing.
you've been incredibly authentic as your bio shares.
Thank you.
Around the embodiment of experiences to then be able to teach them, like for what you know that you're about to do next. I feel this was what you just shared then was to put yourself in a very public space, you know,
and be held by two incredible souls who know how to do that for people.
Oh, look, I've just got so much out of hearing your story, and so much resonates. I'm sure for both of us. And it is about, you know, getting out from behind the wall.
Because it's really scary. It's really scary.
And I just listened to you speaking about all your teachers and your coaches and the people that have been mentors along the way, and I've just been thinking, feeling, hearing all the way what incredible reflections for you, the people that you've sought out to connect in and learn from.
I've magnetised them.
You magnetised them, but
and
it's
they've
been
magnetised me.
But it's kind of like this relationship isn't what you were pointing at before, people on pedestals. It's very much you know, looking at each other and equality and a beautiful reflection, and then now for what you want to share out in the same way.
Because the other person that drastically changed my life was Rachel from Healy, and Sky J. Williams, who was my first coach, and she taught me the conditioning codes. So the deep conditioning of control and perfectionism and all of that. She debunked all of that with me and helped me recreate money stories. And then I got put that to the side because I had my baby. And then I tried to create my business twice, and then ended up failing because I got to the edge, couldn't hold it, and then failed because we had a flood, couldn't hold it.
Nobody could hold that. No. As you say, individually holding it.
Exactly. So that was just fascinating as well. And then right now I've declared that I will be a millionaire in my 45th year of being alive, which gives me 26 months basically.
Unreal.
Fantastic.
And when I was in this coaching call with the grant that I just manifested, that it was a gentleman, an Indian gentleman, and he was like, he helps artists. I was like, you would never have thought that from his bio. And then he grounded in the money. So that's where I fail, is that my ADHD doesn't allow me to see the spreadsheet math stuff. But he calculated it out into a plan and said, oh, that's actually really quite easy with what you do and what you sell.
Wow.
And to have somebody say that and so hold the riverbanks for you and say, well, you can flow in here while I hold this for you. I just cried. Like I actually left a voice message for Maria and Nicole and said, how do you receive? Like when you get to this edge of receiving and you don't know how to receive more, like what do you do? And Maria stepped up and goes, well, we got to celebrate you. So she just goes into this beautiful like 2-minute voice call of celebrating. Unreal. And then you just listen to it back. You know, I literally since the eclipse season, I have been brought to tears every day in gratitude, because my trauma was always thinking that something was better outside of where I am now. And where I am now is actually the most beautiful, perfect place in all its polarity. And it's been a journey.
That's a beautiful, beautiful way to round our podcast off. I'm going to put all of your info, because I know that there are going to be women that are wanting to know
reach out to you,
how to find you, and where to go to all these amazing places that you've spoken about. You've really taken us on a journey today. It's been really, really beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for witnessing me.
Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you.
Thank you.
I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams.
Thank you for listening to our Girl Awakening podcast. We are also on YouTube as Girl Awakening. We'd love to see you there with comments on how our guests resonated with you or your own awakening. Please share the love with a like and subscribe while you're there. A blissful thank you to Ksenia Luki, the amazing artist behind our theme song. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.